So, Umar Nurmagomedov defeated Cory Sandhagen via decision to get the number 2 spot in the bantamweight division. Umar managed to grapple really well and also strike really well, but Cory Sandhagen had an amazing defense. Honestly, from my recent memory, I can't think of any other fighters who've had such a great takedown defense strategy against a fighter from Dagestan. And honestly, I'm glad it went the full 5 rounds. I know people were expecting to see a first round submission or some kind of knockout win, but I'm really glad it was a 5-round fight. I think that experience and time in the octagon is crucial for Umar's career. A lot of people in the online MMA community are always moaning about how Umar has not fought any ranked opponents. I don't see how that's his fault, as no one in the bantamweight division has been willing to fight him. UFC president Dana White even said that himself when he was announcing the fight.
Umar is ranked number 10, and when I tell you nobody wants to fight this guy, Cory Sandhagen stepping up to the plate.
However, now Umar Nurmagomedov has earned that number 2 spot in the UFC's bantamweight division. Now everyone is looking forward to Noche UFC or UFC 306 to see who will win out of Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Whoever wins this fight will most likely be taking on Umar Nurmagomedov next. I remember in a previous interview where Sean O'Malley was talking about how he wanted to reach Conor McGregor status, he did say that he won't be wanting to fight Umar Nurmagomedov until Umar Nurmagomedov becomes a superstar.
It's Umar's pride, the toughest fight, and yeah, makes sense. Umar isn't a star at all. I believe Umar is a potential superstar.
But it looks like this fight will probably happen a lot sooner than we think. I've seen this post going around on social media saying that perhaps Umar Nurmagomedov versus Sean O'Malley will be the next Khabib versus Conor fight. As we know, the Khabib versus Conor fight is the highest selling fight in UFC history, so could a potential Sean O'Malley versus Umar Nurmagomedov fight beat this pay-per-view record? Honestly, I think there has to be so much tension and build-up in order to beat those pay-per-view records. Just remember back to UFC 229, build-up to that fight was just so intense. Remember all of the trash talk, the bus attack. Literally everyone all over the world was tuning into that fight to see what was going to happen. Even people who are not MMA fans or UFC fans just wanted to see that fight. The tension between the both fighters was just huge, and I think that the Sean O'Malley versus Umar Nurmagomedov tension needs to build up so much more. Sean O'Malley will probably have to become a lot more offensive, do more trash talking, and do something really crazy in order to beat those pay-per-view records. But like I said, Sean O'Malley did say he wants to see Umar Nurmagomedov become a superstar before he fights him. As we know, Umar has a super famous, well-known name in the MMA and UFC world. His cousin is Khabib, the UFC Hall of Famer and undefeated champion. Of course, that is already a huge starting point, and he's also from Dagestan, and so many fans in the online MMA community are like so biased and against Dagestani fighters because of their grappling and wrestling approach and other ridiculous reasons. So I think already having a US fighter, Sean O'Malley, versus someone from Dagestan already sounds huge and will get so many people interested and excited. Moving on, we saw Tony Ferguson make a half retirement after his round 1 submission loss to Michael Chiesa. So we all love Tony Ferguson, and he's done so much for the UFC and has really got all of the fans on his side, but unfortunately he had another loss. So after his fight, he seemed really emotional, and I think the atmosphere of the crowd and just the loss really got to him, and he made that half retirement decision. But 60 seconds later, he was saying that he will be back fighting again when he was leaving the arena. So we've got to remember that the atmosphere of the arena and the heat of the moment, people make decisions, but I think that we will see Tony Ferguson be back again soon. He is such a crowd and fan favourite, and honestly, I feel like he could still get a win. Also, it was really cool to see Khabib talk about Tony Ferguson backstage. As we know, people in the online MMA community are always saying that the Khabib versus Tony fight would have been incredible, and Khabib did speak about this, that yes, it could have been an interesting fight between the pair. However, there were injuries and all sorts that did stop the fight, and honestly, that fight was just never meant to be. But it was really cool to see Khabib acknowledge Tony Ferguson. Khabib has paid a lot of respect to Tony Ferguson in the past and has made a lot of comments supporting him. And Khabib did say that Tony Ferguson's life is just starting now and he has so much to look forward to. And I think that is so true, because as we've seen Khabib retire, he's been coaching, training, and he's still so present in in the UFC. So I think that even if Tony retires, he could still be so present in the UFC, whether he's commentating or training fighters, and he will forever be a star in the MMA world. So what do you think Tony Ferguson should do next? So for the co-main event, we got to see Shara Bullet back in action against Michal Oleksiejczuk. So Shara Bullet won the fight via decision, and honestly I think it was his most competitive bloody fight we've seen so far. In certain moments I thought there was going to be a knockout win for either fighter, and honestly in the last round Shara Bullet looked absolutely exhausted. So I saw this video of Shara Bullet at the open workhouse in a mall in Abu Dhabi, and his kicks looked so impressive and he was really entertaining the crowd, but I feel like we didn't see as many of these in the actual fight. So I think UFC fans are finding him as a really entertaining fighter. They love to see what he will bring to the octagon, and even before the fight begins he has these signature moves that I think fans are absolutely loving. Shara Bullet has improved his wrestling a lot from his first fight, and I'm sure he will only get better. So Shara Bullet remained undefeated. I really like that he's an active UFC fighter, and I'm sure he'll want to be back again for the next Abu Dhabi card. So as we know, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the cousin of Umar Nurmagomedov, was helping train Umar for his fight, and he was also there cornering him. So everyone is basically saying that having Khabib in your corner is basically a cheat code to winning your fight. So initially I thought that Khabib would never be returning to cornering anyone for fights again, but he did make a return at UFC 302 to corner Islam Makhachev for his fight against Dustin Poirier. As we know, their coach Javier Mendez has said that having Khabib in the corner is such a big help. Some videos have come out online of Khabib's reaction in the corner for the fight. Clearly Khabib is so passionate, he is so invested, and he just wants his fighters to win. He's literally on the edge of his seat, he can't sit down, and he's shouting anything he can to get his fighters to win. Khabib's fight IQ is incredible, and he probably spots so many opportunities and ways to defeat the opponent. And I really want UFC to release more muted episodes where we can hear what Khabib is saying. So Khabib has a YouTube channel, and I've been keeping up with the vlogs of the fight camp, and I really love his motivational talks. He has so many wise words to share, and I think even if you're not a fighter, you can watch these videos and really get yourself motivated to whatever your life goals are. Also, it was really fun and cool to see UFC's VIP guest Hasbullah return to the octagon. Hasbullah was there supporting his close friend Umar Nurmagomedov. I remember a couple months back, Hasbullah and Umar Nurmagomedov were out in the mountains in Dagestan and on FaceTime to UFC President Dana White. As Islam Makhachev has said in the past, Hasbullah always gives off good energy. Cory Sandhagen definitely deserves a lot of praise for the fact that he took on this fight when no other opponents were willing to do so. So Cory Sandhagen had a really classy response on social media in his post-fight octagon interview, said that he is sure that Umar will go on to win the UFC's bantamweight belt, and then he'll be looking forward to fight him again. I do think Cory and Umar had a good competitive fight, and I definitely want to see a rematch between the pair in the future. Moving on, UFC's new welterweight champion Belal Muhammad was also present in Abu Dhabi. There's been this video going around online of Islam Makhachev and Belal Muhammad posing with their belts. As we know, Islam Makhachev and Belal Muhammad are close friends and have trained together. And Islam did say in a recent interview that Belal winning the UFC's welterweight championship has ruined his plans of getting a second belt. As we know, Islam has always said that he's always looking for a new contender and a new challenge, and said that this could possibly be Max Holloway. However, we now know that Max Holloway will be fighting Ilia Topuria at UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi, which I am so excited about. As we know, Islam does not care for the BMF title or whatever it stands for. He is simply looking for a new contender and a new challenge for himself. So what were your thoughts on UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi? What was your favourite fight of the night? And when do you want to see Umar Nurmagomedov fight for the bantamweight title? Please don't forget to share and like this video, comment below, and subscribe to my channel.